No one knew and acknowledged these schools in government international agencies before we started doing our research and publicising it. It's an extraordinary thing. No, I would go into these countries, I still go into these countries now, in a new country, and I say I'm looking for private schools, low-cost private schools. People say, no, the private schools are for the elite, for the rich. And you'd go into these slums. I've taken people from government, from international agencies, into these areas, and they cannot believe their eyes. I think when I started researching this, there was genuine ignorance, innocent ignorance, largely. A few people knew about these private schools and didn't want to say, but largely there was innocent ignorance. Now I think you've hit the nail on the head. Now, when I wrote about the Malala story, you know, I was saying how wonderful it is. Look, you know, we can celebrate not only this brave young woman has survived what she survived, but actually she was a part of a system which is about the poor helping themselves anyway. It's a double sort of thing to celebrate. And her father, this celebrated figure now, was running a private school and part of a federation of private schools. But yeah, there's denial now because the establishment, if you like, wants to own Malala for themselves. They want her to be there as the champion of public education, as the champion of education for all through the public sector. So there is now a calculated ignorance. There's a calculated denial. There's a calculated denial of the significance of these schools if you can't deny their existence now. Well, the good news is that if no champion is found, and I like to think of myself as being, you know, a small champion for these, but if no one else is found, it carries on. This is not dependent on us. There are hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs running these schools, and they will carry on doing it whether we know about it or we don't know about it. So in a sense it's irrelevant, that question. Now Bill Clinton, to be fair, I think now he's been convinced that these schools exist, so maybe there could be a champion emerge. But doing what though? We want to be very careful. This is a fragile market here. You can easily get the wrong sort of person coming in and say, okay, let's throw a few $1 million at these schools, and then you just completely ruin what makes these schools special. Western philanthropy can come in alongside these schools. For instance, several of the governments that I work in, the countries I work in, the governments are unsympathetic to these schools, and they want to close them down. For various strange reasons, they want to close them down. The India government has created the Right to Education Act, which sounds great, but it is actually a right to public education, and the private schools in Punjab in India, 3,000 have been closed. That's 300,000 at least, maybe 500,000 children thrown out of the schools that their parents have chosen for them. So in India, we've created a federation, NISA, the National Independent Schools Alliance. In Nigeria, again, the government wanted to close down the schools in Lagos. We created a federation. It's a great Nigerian name, AFID, the Association of Formidable Education Development. And these federations are doing a marvelous job, but they just get a little subscription from the members. A grant to one of those federations can really help them become strong, you know, pump priming them, help them fight government, help them improve, you know, assessment, curriculum, teacher training, so both quality and lobbying of government to protect them. That's a great use for philanthropy. Another use might be to say these schools, they're hungry for capital, so let's create some sort of a revolving loan fund. There are philanthropists who've done this now, in one called Edify, based in America, the IDP Foundation, based in San Diego and Chicago, respectively. They have created loan funds for these low-cost private schools to help them build an extra classroom, a toilet block, separate toilets for girls and boys, or whatever they need. Scholarship programs for the poorest of the poor to be able to go to these schools. These are things that can be done. There's good things investors can do. A couple of us have created chains of these private schools, with the assumption that, you know, with one standalone school you can't invest in teacher training, curriculum. But if you've got 100 schools that are part of your chain, you know, that little margin from each school can actually fund something quite impressive and quite useful. So there are different things one can do, but as long as you don't come in and ruin the market, you know, that would be terrible, wouldn't it?